We need to start learning a lot more about bacteria, and we need to be teaching our children to learn bacteria stuff because it really is everything, including nutrition, the cannabinoids, all the stuff that count for us, even global warming and stuff, so heavily impacted by bacteria that it's really important to know. All right, so having mentioned that, what good does any of this stuff do a grower? Um, right? I mean, isn't that what we're here
Yeah.
for? Yeah. So it turns out that there are some mixes which people are experimenting with to try to make sure that they have the right bacteria in the soil for the plant to choose. And I
Mhm.
say the plant to choose because it appears that each different strain of cannabis has its own favorite strains of
Oh man,
bacteria.
go
Yes,
figure.
yeah, go figure. So when we talk about terroir, people are always trying to get terroir. The Emerald Triangle wanted to say, okay, you grow cannabis here and it's going to taste like this because we've got this in our soil. It's really the bacteria that are giving the plant its taste, its style, et cetera, et cetera. And so if you have different bacteria, you have different impacts in the plant. And in fact, it turns out that plants can carry bacteria for generations and generations. We know that corn seeds, for example, 400-year-old corn seeds have the same bacteria as their progeny today have, which is simply incredible to me. And so again, we're going to be getting into a situation where at some point in time, you want to grow Durban poison. Here's the Durban poison mix of bacteria, so that you can get your Durban poison. We're a ways off, but it is coming. So where do these bacteria come from when you're growing a cannabis plant? Okay, it turns out that a lot of these bacteria get inside the plant, move up the plant into the flower. And when they're
Mm.
in the flower, they get caught as the flower forms that seed. So you got the bacteria, the flower forms this, process, and it forms that seed coat around the embryo that the flower
Mhm.
is. And that seed coat contains inside it and the embryo itself bacteria. And those are the bacteria that plant needs. Wow. So when you plant that seed, the bacteria leap off the growing embryo, the cotyledons, et cetera, and go into the soil. Well, this has got to have a lot of implications for the grower. So let's start with sterilizing seeds. No, not a good idea. Let's move on to growing your seeds, or starting your seeds in a damp paper towel. It works, but then you take the seeds and you plant them in the paper towel, which has got bacteria in it. You throw away. No, no, no,
Yep.
no, no, no. Plant the whole thing. Hmm, pretty
Hmm.
interesting. How about using your soil? Now, I've always been a big proponent of reusing your soil because your plant is producing the exudates that it needs to attract the right kinds of bacteria and fungi, et cetera. And so, why would you throw that out? That's got the second time around, it could be richer than the first time around, particularly if you're using cover crops or you're adding compost, et cetera, so that you continue to have the right nutrition. So that's pretty important. Then I began to think about, what about clones? Not as good. Where's the bacteria? Well, there's some in the plant, but
Right.
you're keeping your clone year after. Some people keep their clones a long time. Does it have the bacteria you really want? Is this why we start to have problems with clone plants that we don't get with seed plants? Could be. So that's another thing. And again, as I say, there are a series of bacteria that you can get commercially. Most of them are what are known as bacillus, azosipor, azosipurium. I can never
Hmm.
pronounce the damn thing. Is one of them. And you can start to find these mixes at nurseries and good grow stores, and start to experiment with them. So there's a lot of kind of neat things to start to fool around with, and to try out. Obviously, things go from there. For example, I don't like to transplant. Why would you transplant? You know, if you do transplant, get all of the soil and make sure you get all of the bacteria. Uh, it just all becomes pretty logical as we go along, and it's fascinating. But what's even more fascinating is be able to look at that plant and know that all of this stuff is going on in the soil. It is so esoteric and exciting. And when you take a look at the book, there are pictures of a lot of this stuff. There are pictures of the bacterium inside the root cell. Whew, wow, you know,